The shocking revelation of the angel that rescued Prophet Elijah at midnight. You won't believe it. The night sky was swallowed by a shroud of darkness, a deep, heavy black that seemed to pulse with anticipation. In the stillness, a soft rustling echoed, barely perceptible yet undeniably eerie. Then, out of nowhere, a flash of brilliant light burst forth, illuminating the trees like 1,000 shooting stars. Was it an angel? A shimmering form appeared, radiant and ethereal, casting a glow that sent shivers down the spine of anyone who dared to look. It was a scene so surreal, it could only be described as a divine spectacle unfolding at the witching hour. What secrets lay within the folds of that dark night? For centuries, tales whispered of an angelic being who had saved the great prophet Elijah from the jaws of despair at the brutal stroke of midnight. The air was thick with tension as locals gathered, their breaths held, wide eyes glued to the sky, an electric hum buzzing with excitement and fear. They could almost hear the beating of wings, a sound so profound it resonated in their chests. "Did you see that?" someone gasped, pointing skyward with trembling fingers, a lump forming in their throat. Another voice shot back, drenched in disbelief, "It looked real, too real." Gradually, the tension escalated as stories began to swirl like the wind, tales of Elijah's desperate cry for rescue, his spirit broken and fears laid bare as darkness loomed. A shiver trickled down spines as the townsfolk recounted visions of the angel hair like golden threads, eyes that flickered with the warmth of 1,000 suns. How could one being carry such light in the midst of such darkness? As if the universe itself had decided to intervene, people leaned closer, breaths caught in collective suspense. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the crowd held its breath, a chilling whisper slinked through the air. "Will he come again?" echoed someone in the back, and the collective silence that followed was deafening. The wind picked up, howling through the trees, as if answering their anxious hearts. Rumors of prophets and angels swirled, igniting raw curiosity. Was Elijah still out there? Then, just as hope began to flicker, a shadow flitted across the crowd, and there, standing at the edge of light, a figure appeared. Who was it? Was it the angel or something far more sinister? The night seemed to pulse with possibilities, uncertainty gripping everyone tighter, leaving them teetering on the brink of revelation. The figure moved closer, the pulsating light casting elongated shadows that danced across the ground. Hearts raced, breaths quickened, and an electric charge filled the air. Was it truly an angel, or a mirage crafted from desperation and fear? The townspeople exchanged frightened glances, lips trembling in quiet prayer or perhaps protest. Suddenly, the figure stepped into full view. Gone were the glorious wings and divine aura. Instead stood a woman, her face both radiant and worn, as if she had just emerged from a storm. Her hair shimmered silver under the night sky. There was something eerily familiar about her, and murmurs erupted from the crowd. Could it be? A voice faltered. It was undeniable, the resemblance striking and unsettling. "My God, it's Mary!" Someone gasped, and a ripple of shock coursed through the crowd. Mary, the once beloved healer of the town, rumored to have been lost to the shadows long ago. How could she be standing here, glowing like the moon yet cloaked in mystery? "What happened to you?" Another voice called out, trembling with both confusion and hope. Mary stepped forward, her presence commanding attention, yet her eyes held an ancient sorrow that spoke volumes. "I've come to warn you," she said, her voice silver and echoing like distant bells. "The darkness is gathering. Elijah's return is imminent, but it is not what you think. The angel you saw was a beacon of hope, but shadows have always hunted those who shine too bright. Gasps erupted through the audience. What darkness? Who was threatening them? The questions filled the air, burning with urgency. As Mary continued, her words flowed like a river, each syllable layered with meaning. Elijah's battles were not solely against earthly kings. He fought against powers far greater, forces of chaos that want to return. They lie in wait, ready to extinguish the light. The wind howled again, almost interrupting her chilling revelation. A child in the crowd clung to his mother, eyes wide, sensing the weight of the moment. Adults whispered fierce prayers, shaking believers and skeptics alike, swept away by fear. I was sent, Mary continued, to prepare you. The angel guided me back from the abyss, but I was told that to bring Elijah forth again would awaken the dark forces lying in the cursed woods. The air caught in everyone's throats, panic rippling through the crowd. The cursed woods, the very place where even the bravest dared not tread. It loomed ominously to the east, thick with shadows and whispers. We can't let them return. We must protect what is pure, someone shouted, desperation spilling over. Listen closely, Mary urged, her voice trembling with desperation. For the darkness will disguise itself. It often wears the faces of those you love. Trust no one, not even yourself, for fear will be their weapon. As her proclamation hung heavy in the cool night air, the crowd erupted into chaos. Voices rose in alarm, grappling for understanding. The threat felt real, something tangible in the night. Will the angel return? A voice cried out amidst the shouts. But Mary could only shake her head, a deep sadness enveloping her. You must find the light within yourselves. The answers are not in the skies, they lie within. But just as quickly as she arrived, a jagged scream pierced the night. The ground trembled, and from the depths of the woods, a dark mist swirled upward, coiling around Mary and the crowd like a serpent waiting to strike. Everything crashed to a halt. Eyes widened in horror. What had they awakened? In the heart of fear, a question loomed larger than the night itself: how far would they go to protect their own? The townsfolk now stood on a precipice, facing an unknown terror, and the darkness was closing in fast. What choice would they make when the time came? The mist continued to rise, wrapping around Mary like an insidious shroud, dark and foreboding. It sent a chill through the townsfolk, their instincts screaming for them to flee. But where could they run? Anxiety twisted in their stomachs as they stood frozen, paralyzed by uncertainty and fear. Mary! A voice called through the tension, breaking the silence as a man with frantic eyes pushed his way to the front. Tell us what we must do. How do we fight against that? He gestured wildly at the swirling shadows creeping closer. Mary's gaze shifted, her expression fierce yet vulnerable. You can't fight the darkness with weapons. You must forge unity. Seek the light within each other. Her voice was a silken thread, barely holding against the roar of fear. But before she could elaborate, a series of sharp cracks echoed through the night. A lightning bolt flashed from above, illuminated the treetops, and just like that, it struck in the distance, resonating like a war trumpet. The ground shook again, more violent this time, and the townsfolk staggered back, gripping one another as panic danced in their eyes. Then, from the depths of the cursed woods, a guttural growl emerged. The sound was primal, a resonance of something hungry and ancient. The shadows flickered and writhed. Do you hear that? Someone whispered, incredulity and horror contorting their features. Mary clutched her head, as if attempting to block out the chaos. We don't have time. She looked around, her voice rising above the fear. Each of you must confront your own darkness. It lives in secrets, in betrayal, the love you've allowed to fester in silence. The crowd was restless. Faces twisted in confusion. What secrets? What betrayals? They shot frightened glances at one another, and doubt began creeping in like a thief in the night. Suddenly, the little boy who had been clutching his mother's hand broke free and ran towards Mary. I'm not scared," he shouted, his voice piercing through the anxiety like a beacon. "I believe in you. I believe in the angel." His bravery was contagious. It sparked a flurry of nods and murmurs of agreement from the crowd. They began to remember Mary as she had once been their healer, their hope. They pulled strength from her very presence, even as shadows loomed. Then it happened. A figure emerged from the darkness behind Mary, and gasps filled the air. A tall man stepped into the light, his face gaunt but unmistakable. It was Elijah, his eyes glowing with a fierce fire. "Mary!" he shouted, urgency thrumming in his voice as he moved closer. "We don't have much time. What do we do?" She replied, her voice laced with desperation. The shadows surged forward, a mass of swirling darkness, and it didn't look like it would stop. "We need to unite. Bring forth the truth," Elijah declared, rallying the townsfolk who slowly began to gather around him and Mary, tension entwined with hope as they prepared. But behind the man, a voice appeared clear as day, like a bubble bursting in the silence. "You do not understand the nature of the darkness, Elijah." It laughed, a cruel sound that echoed off the trees. "To confront it is to face the truth about yourselves." Eyes widened, hearts raced, and the air thickened. What truth? What could be worse than this night, than the darkness clawing to break free? As Mary and Elijah locked eyes, a realization dawned on them. They weren't just fighting a force outside, they were facing a reckoning within. The crowd surged with a collective gasp, and silence fell. Would they summon the courage to face their truths, or would they let the shadows claim their light forever? The call for unity had sounded, but with it came the specter of an unimaginable choice. Could they endure the trials that awaited them? The tension was palpable, as if the very air became charged with electricity. The crowd, once a cohesive front of anxious townsfolk, now felt like fragmented pieces of glass, each with their own hidden fears and unspoken truths. The laughter that had echoed through the woods still clawed at their ears, a reminder that shadows were not just outside, they were within. "Listen." Elijah's voice cut through the murmurs, filled with resonant authority. "Whatever darkness you hide in your hearts, it can be faced. Together." He stepped closer to Mary, as if drawing energy from her presence. Mary glanced at him, her heart racing. "How can we face our truths when even I feel so unsure?" The shadows around them seemed to pulse in response, a hungry wave waiting for just the right moment to devour. She could almost feel the presence watching, waiting for the moment of weakness to strike. Suddenly, a woman from the back surged forward, her expression twisted with rage. "You want truth?" she shouted, her voice rising. "Here's the truth. We've been divided by secrets for too long. My own husband betrayed me." Her words landed like stones amidst the crowd. Gasps followed, people exchanging astonished looks. "Judith, stop," a man called from the edge, his voice trembling. "You don't have to air our dirty laundry now." "Yes, I do." She spat, tears streaming down her cheeks. "We can't let this darkness consume us. We have to face it now, while we still have time." Her outburst hung in the air, a raw surge of confession that acted like a lightning bolt, a jolt of clarity in the midst of chaos. Others followed suit, swept up by a sudden wave of bravery. "I've loved you in silence, Clara," another man admitted, the shame written all over his face. "For years, my feelings have turned to poison." He stepped forward, looking into the eyes of the woman he had wronged. Amidst the turmoil, Mary felt a flicker of relief. This was the unity she had hoped for. But the darkness, that swirling mass of chaos, snarled louder, as if enraged by their confessions. It grew closer, wrapping around the edges of their circle, taunting them, its whispers growing louder. "You think this will save you? The more you expose yourselves, the more vulnerable you become. Your truths will not save you, only lead to your demise." A shiver ran through Mary, a voice that sounded so familiar, the embodiment of everything the townsfolk feared. She wasn't sure if it was real or just another trick of the darkness. "It's a lie," Mary shouted, firmer this time. "Your truth is your strength. Stand together." The wind picked up, swirling through the trees, sending leaves flying. The mist thickened, but radiating shadows began to flicker in the light of their confessions. Townsfolk began to clasp hands, creating a human chain of light amidst the consuming dark. "Elijah!" Mary called, reaching out to him. "We must show them it's possible to overcome." Their hands met, an electric connection of shared resolve. But just then, a terrible scream erupted from the edge of the woods. The figure of a man hurtled into their circle, disheveled and panting, eyes wide with terror. It was Jacob, the town's blacksmith, blood coating his hands, his voice splintering with panic. "It's coming. It has claimed my family. We can't stop it." The crowd gasped, the murmurs spinning back into panic, as the shadows shifted again. A new wave of fear swept over them, threatening to pull the fragile unity apart. Could they rally against their truths? Would they fight to hold the embers of hope against the looming darkness? As they stood on the brink of despair, a sudden crack of thunder shattered the night. All eyes turned to the heavens, where a bright light blazed through the clouds, illuminating the pulsing shadows. But was it a sign of salvation? Or a harbinger of their final reckoning? "Look!" A voice cried out as the light blinded them all. "The angel!" With that shout, the future seemed to hang precariously in the balance. What role would this angel play in their moment of truth? Would it show them the way, or would it lead them further into the abyss? The light flared brightly, engulfing the gathered townsfolk in warmth, pushing back the shadows that writhed just outside their circle. Jacob fell to his knees, his breath coming in ragged gasps, the blood on his hands now a dark blot against the brilliance. "It's too late, the darkness has already taken them," he murmured, despair painting his features. But as they stood bathed in this celestial glow, something shifted within the crowd. Hope flickered a tiny candle against the storm. Mary felt it, a swell of belief growing stronger within her heart. "Elijah, can you feel that?" Mary shouted over the crackling energy. "This light, it's pushing the shadows away." She squeezed Elijah's hand tighter, feeling his determination radiate through their connection. His gaze met hers, a determination glimmering behind fear. "Yes," he boomed, allowing courage to rise in his voice. "Together, we can draw strength from this moment. Look at what we've shared, the vulnerability we've shown. We are not unworthy. We are not alone." The crowd began to stir, whispers of bravery brushing against fear. One by one, the townsfolk raised their heads, eyes glistening with newfound resolve, but then, from the depths of the darkness, a haunting laugh erupted, sinister and low. "You think this is power?" The laughter echoed around them, chillier than the night air. The ground beneath shifted, threatening to swallow the light. "Your light merely illuminates how utterly fragile you are. Your truths cannot guard against what is to come." A tremor ran through Mary's body as reality sank in. The entity was no longer just lurking, it was feeding off their fears. The laughter melded into a scream that clawed at their insides. It was the kind of sound that burrowed into the core of you, seeping its poison. "Hold on to one another," Mary shouted, her voice a beacon amid the chaos. Her heart pounded fiercely in her chest. "We have faced our truths. We can face this together." Elijah's grip tightened around her hand, and slowly, the townsfolk formed a tighter circle, compelled by shared courage. Jacob joined them, wiping his hands on his torn shirt, leaving streaks of blood behind on his chest. His face, filled with the raw pain of loss, suddenly became resolute. "What do we do now?" Jacob asked, voice hoarse from the fear that had stolen his strength. "We fight," Elijah declared, stepping forward, his voice echoing with authority. "We confront whatever this darkness is, fueled by the truth of our confessions and the strength of our unity. Just then, the bright light began to pulse, its rhythm aligning with the hearts of the townsfolk. With every beat, they felt the ties that bound them begin to strengthen, roots deepening into the ground beneath them. The shadows hissed, recoiling as the light wrapped around them, then, from within the glow, a figure began to emerge. It was hard to see, but beneath the brilliance, something ethereal took shape. The crowd gasped. It looked like an angel, wings fanned wide, a face illuminated with compassion. "Elijah, Mary," the angel's voice resonated, soft yet powerful, "I have heard your truths, and I have witnessed your unity. There is weight in what you have shared. This darkness can be eradicated, but it takes more than just bravery. It demands sacrifice." The air thickened with uncertainty. What kind of sacrifice? Mary whispered, heart racing. Was she ready to give a part of herself? A glance at the townsfolk, their determination mixed with confusion, pulled her deeper into the struggle. A rift opened in the darkness as shadows writhed, eager to claim their fear once more. "Do not falter," cried the angel. "Only when you embrace your deepest fears together will the shadows cower." The rising tremor of uncertainty in her chest threatened to shatter her resolve, and Mary felt a mix of dread and hope. "What is it going to take?" She called forward, desperately seeking clarity. "Only the truth," the angel replied, tightening the circle of light around them. "Only when you confront the essence of your fears, your deepest regrets, will you see salvation take form." As the words echoed into the night, a deeper darkness loomed, ready to strike. Could they find the ultimate truth hidden within them? Or was the sacrifice too great? The air thickened with tension, each breath feeling more like a weight, as they steeled themselves for the battle ahead. What sacrifice would they have to make to reclaim their light? In that moment, the shadows lunged forward, hungry for more. And as they did, Mary's heart raced. Would any of them step forward and confront the churning darkness within before it was too late? The shadows surged forward, a dark wave crashing against their fragile barrier of light. Mary could feel her heart thrumming wildly, like a drum urging them to act. Each pulse was a call to confront what lay deep within, all their regrets and fears ready to be laid bare. A gasp escaped her lips as the dark mass took shape, twisting into familiar faces, each one a specter of what they'd lost. She saw her mother, eyes hollowed and full of sorrow, clinging to her memories. Jacob's anguish surfaced as visions of his fallen comrades materialized alongside his father's desperate face. Elijah's memories danced around him like phantoms, haunting and uncanny. "No!" Mary cried out, feeling the tendrils of fear reaching into her soul. "These aren't real, they can't hurt us anymore." But the shadows only groaned, echoing every ounce of her disbelief back at her. They whispered what lay in the corners of her mind: her failures, her fears, the people she could never save. The call for unity grew stronger among the townsfolk as they began to speak their fears aloud, one brave confession after another. "I was too selfish, I should have helped him." Jacob's voice broke through the chaos. The crowd turned toward him, their hearts resonating with his pain. Elijah stepped forward, fire igniting in his chest. "No! We're not alone. What about our courage? What about the choices that brought us here?" With each confession, the light pulsed stronger, but as the shadows shifted and clawed, they became more menacing. The figures they conjured grew more twisted, mocking their every moment of weakness. "Face your truths," the angel urged, but doubt flickered in Mary's heart. How could she confront fears that were so heavy and sharp? The weight of guilt pressed down on her like lead, tightening in her throat. Their circle began to waver, and the shadows closed in, hungry for that hesitation. The angel, wings flaring, shimmered against the encroaching darkness. "You must do this together. For every truth shared, the bond grows stronger." It was Jacob again, his voice rising above the din, full of newfound determination. "I couldn't save them. I tried, but they were taken too soon. I was paralyzed by fear." "There it is," the angel cried. "Feel it. Own that fear. It's the only way the light will push past the shadows. Every painful moment it's part of us, but it doesn't define us. Mary shouted, her voice cutting through the gray. She felt the heat of the shared struggles radiating back at her, warming her like a summer sun breaking through on a chilly day. Courage is born from the ashes of our despair. Elijah roared. We stand in the light, and we will not be defeated by our shadows. With their voices joining together, an energy ignited between them, weaving through the fabric of fear and regret. The shimmering light solidified as they embraced the pain, as if their confessions were setting their darkest memories ablaze. Then, a sudden hush fell. The shadows shrieked, as if wounded by genuine acknowledgement. Mary felt a rush of clarity surge through her. I choose to confront my darkness. I will remember their names. I will honor their memory. As her words echoed, she glanced at each townsperson's face, lit by the sprouting flames of acceptance and strength. Together, we are stronger than any darkness. Suddenly, a blinding beam shot from the center of their circle, targeting the shadows like an arrow. The dark entities screeched, unmoored and reeling back, smoke and sorrow pouring off them. But just then, from within their midst, something twisted like a hurricane. Fools! You think this is enough? You think this will save you? A roiling darkness materialized, more furious and accompanied by a heartbeat and embodiment of pure malevolence, pulsing with rage and hunger. The angel's voice trembled, desperate yet hopeful. You must face that truth. Only when you embrace what lies behind the darkness can the light truly prevail. Mary's heart sank. It was a truth they hadn't yet dared to glimpse. What if we aren't strong enough, she thought, but the resolve of her neighbors anchored her. They had come so far together. What waits on the other side of this war? She shouted, her fists clenched and trembling. Are we ready to sacrifice the unthinkable? The shriek of the darkness grew louder, drowning out her thoughts. Shadows loomed, threatening to engulf the light once more. The stakes felt higher than ever, the cost a mystery waiting to be discovered. Could they turn that looming dread into a weapon? Would the sacrifices bring forth the dawn, or would they be lost forever in the shadows? The tension crackled in the air, a fragile line drawn between hope and despair. The moment of truth was approaching fast. Would they be ready when it finally came? The writhing mass of darkness loomed closer, its cold tendril snaking around the edges of the circle. Panic surged in the townsfolk, palpable and suffocating. Mary felt it coursing through her veins, the urgency of the moment digging into her heart. We have to fight. Elijah's voice rang out, a battle cry wrapped in desperation. We can't let it consume us. His defiance ignited Mary's spirit. She could sense the light within them flickering, the warmth they had forged together. But it was not enough, she could feel the darkness threatening to rip it all apart. They needed to harness their truth, not just as a shield, but as a weapon. Focus on your memories, she shouted, her voice cutting through the tempest of despair. Remember each face, every name, let that love become our strength. The crowd, swayed by her conviction, began to recall their lost ones. Individual stories pulsed in the air, a tapestry of love and sorrow stitched together with hope. Jordan, you were my light. Someone shouted, and the darkness recoiled, as if scalded by the brightness of that love. The shadows twisted and wailed in agony, trying to silence them with chilling whispers, but with each name uttered, the circle strengthened. Maria. No matter how sorrowful it gets, I'll always carry you in my heart. Mary watched as her neighbors found their resolve, each person revealing their truths, painting a vivid portrait of their lives marked by love, loss, and resilience. But the embodiment of darkness was not finished. What can you do with mere words? It roared, a voice like gravel scraping against her mind. I am your deepest insecurities, every ounce of shame you carry. Seizing the moment, Mary turned toward the mass, channeling her growing defiance. But you are not all we are. We're so much more than shadows of our past. We are hope and courage born from struggle. We are here, and we will fight. With newfound strength, the townsfolk formed a tighter circle, hands clasped, hearts aligned. We trust each other. Jacob called out, his voice resolute. No more secrets to bury. We acknowledge our pain. The very fabric of their connection pulsed vibrantly. The angel, shimmering amidst the chaos, spread its wings wide, radiating an ethereal light that mingled with the collective spirit of the townsfolk. Embrace your truths. Let them merge and become one. Mary felt the energy sea around her as her neighbors drew upon their collective love. Bolstered by solid memories, the light transformed into a blinding beam, shining brighter and brighter until it clashed violently with the approaching shadows. The dark mass shrieked and writhed, a grotesque dance of suffering, splintering as the light consumed it. A shadowy figure increased in size, an elaborate silhouette forming from the chaos, a grotesque version of a protector, mocking their every move. You honestly believe this will save you? It hissed, but hope surged, bubbling at the surface, twisting into powerful swirls beneath the oppression. Then we fight not just for ourselves, Mary declared, raising her hands high. But for all that we've lost. With that, the light erupted from their circle, blasting through the encroaching darkness like a firework. The shadows screamed, a haunting sound reverberating through the very bones of the earth, and began to retract, exposing the heartbreak beneath. Before Mary could take a breath, the figure of darkness morphed again. It expanded, enveloping her senses with dread, rendering her momentarily frozen. Do you think you can truly escape? It taunted, its presence insidious, yet familiar. Mary's resolve started to waver as memories of her own regrets flooded back. Had she really brought her family together this time? Or was this all just a cruel illusion, a fleeting moment of hope before they were swallowed whole? The light flickered ominously. Were they truly prepared to face whatever was about to arise? Stay with me. Jacob shouted, his face strained but steadfast, but as the darkness reared back, its voice echoed in her mind, you will never be free. Questions hung like heavy clouds, twisting her stomach into knots. What lay ahead? Would they succumb to the darkness once more, or had they awakened a power that would illuminate their darkest hour? Time stilled as they braced for the final clash. The moment of reckoning was upon them, and nothing could prepare them for what was about to be revealed. The darkness shifted, a swirling vortex of despair that seemed to mirror Mary's fears. The air was thick, and a chilling silence blanketed the crowd. Only the intermittent crackle of light from their combined energy pierced through. It felt fragile, like a delicate glass ball teetering on the edge of a table. Mary's heart thudded in her chest. What does it want? She whispered, but the answer tumbled through her mind like a distant echo. The shadowy figure was relentless, its cold tendrils reaching as if searching for the tiniest chink in their armor. You think your memories can save you? The darkness crooned mockingly. Your truths are but flickers against my storm. I will show you what you truly hide. Suddenly, the air around them shimmered, and scenes began to unfold. Each member of the townsfolk wrapped in their private losses, paraded before their eyes like exaggerations of their worst fears. Faces of loved ones twisted in agony flashed by, drowning hope in waves of guilt. Mary saw her younger self, standing at her grandmother's grave, whispering promises she'd never kept. Do you see? The darkness hissed, its voice a sinister whisper that curled into her very being. Each regret will drag you under. You will carry this forever. No! Mary screamed, shaking her head fiercely, panic pouring from her eyes. This isn't who we are. But with each shouted name, each revelation of stolen joy, the shadows gained strength. Mary locked eyes with Jacob, his expression a tumultuous mix of fear and determination. They could not let this win, they had fought too hard to stand now. Reclaim your light. Jacob shouted, voice rising defiantly. The group responded, their hands tightening, the warmth of their connection spreading like wildfire. Memories shifted in the air, but now they were intertwined with hope, not despair. Jordan and Maria, visions of joy and laughter flickered back into life, overwhelming the shadows slowly creeping against them. The dark figure recoiled slightly, its grotesque form twisting in confusion. You think these half-hearted echoes can change reality? As if fueled by collective rage, Mary and the townsfolk shouted the names of their loved ones once more, louder this time, filling the space with affirmations of what truly mattered. We remember who you were. Not just what you lost. The light burst forth again, this time with added energy, pushing against the dark mass with a fierce intensity. The angel shimmered, now more radiant than ever, wings unfurling until it was a magnificent beacon amidst the fray. This is your truth. The angel proclaimed, voice like a soothing balm cutting through the turmoil. You are strong. You are the love you give and receive. Fight. Mary felt empowered, the angel's words wrapping around her like a warm blanket. With renewed vigor, she spread her arms wide, inviting the light to swell and merge with their collective force. Face it together. She called out, every ounce of her being surging with the belief they would conquer this depth of despair. Suddenly, the darkness erupted, a storm of its own, clawing for dominance. But as it struck, a single thought pierced through with clarity: they were bound by their vulnerability, yet strengthened by their unity. The ground quaked beneath them, and the shadows howled in anguish, disoriented by their unwavering bonds. A rift began to tear at the very core of the dark mass. Mary gasped as a thought struck hard: what if the darkness was not just a foe? What if it was something much darker, the figure of someone they all knew? Who are you? She demanded, her voice steady despite the trembling underneath. Show us your truth. The shadows contorted violently, refusing to comply, then it shifted again, converging into a solid shape, one she could almost recognize beneath the swirling chaos. Who, she whispered, the answer lingering at the edge of her consciousness. The crowd collectively gasped, eyes widening with dawning horror, the very air crackling with revelation. What were they truly confronting? Could their greatest fears be hiding within someone they loved? Tension coiled tightly around them, and Mary's heart raced. Would they finally confront what lay within the heart of darkness, or would it tear them apart forever? Just then, a blinding flash enveloped them, illuminating the entire circle in brilliant light. But the figure continued to obscure its identity, its silhouette dancing between their deepest fears and their brightest hopes. Who are you? Mary cried again, a knot of dread tightening across her chest. And as a familiar voice echoed from the darkness, the question remained: would they be prepared for the truth behind that haunting silhouette? The blinding light began to fade, revealing the figure cloaked in shadow. Mary squinted, her mind racing. The contours of its body shifted, morphing like smoke, teasing recognition. Panic clawed at her throat, but she pushed it back. Show us your truth. She demanded again, a bit fiercer now, a bit more desperate. Then, like a cruel joke, the darkness peeled away to unveil a familiar face, the face of someone they all cherished but had wished away. It was Sarah, their old friend, lost to sorrow like a hidden ghost. The townsfolk gasped, whispers rippling through the crowd like an electric shiver. Sarah? Jacob's voice cracked, disbelieving. It can't be. But it was. The sorrowful gaze of their lost friend locked onto Mary, her eyes brimming with memories that had turned to ash. You wanted to forget, Sarah's voice croaked, a tremor running through it as if it could shatter like glass. You wanted to bury the pain. Mary shot a glance at Jacob, confusion swirling in her gut. They had thought of Sarah as gone, but here she was, a living embodiment of every moment they tried to erase, every regret they had buried deep. You tried to strengthen yourselves by abandoning the truth, Sarah revealed, her voice echoing ominously in the charged air. You thought this would protect you from loss. But watch the consequences of your decisions. As she spoke, scenes materialized around them, horrific moments they had hoped to forget. Countless images of laughter stifled by grief and joy crushed by despair. Each image pounded at Mary's heart, reminding her of how the weight of silence had transformed their bonds into chains. "No!" Mary cried, clutching her head as anguish seeped into her very bones. "We can't be held hostage by this darkness." "You're wrong." Sarah's voice echoed cold and clear. "This darkness is a part of you, your fears, your grief, your regrets. You cannot fight it without acknowledging it." Her words wrapped compactly around Mary, squeezing her perspective. "But with love, we can transform it." Mary shouted back, channeling the strength she felt pulse through the crowd. In response, the townsfolk began chanting, weaving Sarah's name with their own memories, digging into a well of shared experiences. "Sarah! We loved you. We still love you. You are part of us." The shadows around Sarah wavered, flickering like candlelight caught in a storm. Mary felt the heat of their combined energy burst forward, intensifying the light crackling between them and the dark figure. "No!" Sarah shrieked, the anguish threatening to split her voice. "You can't just erase the pain. It must be embraced." The rift between the townsfolk and the dark mass clenched tighter around Sarah, revealing parts of her that flickered like ghostly fragments. Mary felt herself teetering on the edge. Could they accept this hurtful truth? Could they bear its weight? "I refuse to stand here and watch you destroy our only chance at healing," Mary retorted, her heart pounding with resolve. "I will face you, Sarah. We will face you together." Light erupted from the heart of the townspeople, pushing against the flows of dark matter. Sarah was engulfed in their warmth, surrounded by memories not of sorrow, but of love, a love that could lift even the most buried grief. The shadows twisted and contorted, squirming like worms in sunlight, as more and more love flooded into the space. "We are stronger than our darkest moments," Mary cried with fervor, warmth flooding her heart. They would not be defeated. The darkness twisted violently, revealing the deeper shadows lurking behind Sarah, dark forms that threatened to pull her back. "You think you can save her?" it howled. "She belongs to me." As the spirits clawed for Sarah, it struck Mary like a thunderbolt. To accept means to save. She screamed, locking eyes with her friend. "We must embrace you, believe in you. Let the light in. Let us help you." Just then, an otherworldly scream pierced through the air, sending a shockwave rippling as Sarah's silhouette flickered, teetering between light and shadow. Would their collective love be enough to save their friend, or would they lose her to the depths of despair forever? What lurked behind Sarah, waiting for its chance to bury them all? Could they unravel the truth before it consumed everything they held dear? Mary's heart thundered in her chest, the weight of hope fighting against the relentless pull of despair. Together, they stood, a circle of trembling strength battling the shadows that threatened to tear them apart. "Embrace her!" Elijah shouted, his voice reverberating through the night. "She has been lost, but not beyond saving." The air crackled with fear and a flicker of overwhelming love. Mary reached out to Sarah, the dark figure flickering erratically like a broken film reel. "You are not the darkness. You are our friend. You've always been with us." Her voice held a steady rise of resolve. "I'm haunted by all I couldn't save." Sarah's voice broke like a wounded bird, it shimmered between anguish and warmth. "I tried to protect you from the hurt, but it became my prison." "No. You're here now." Jacob stepped forward, tears streaking down his face, glistening against the ethereal light around them. "You're not just a memory or a shame. You're part of this family, and we believe in every moment spent together, every laugh we shared." The shadows around Sarah writhed, struggling to maintain their grip. But with each word of love echoed, the darkness hissed in retreat. The townsfolk instinctively pushed back against the encroaching blackness, hands joined tighter than before, energy coursing through their veins. "You can't hide anymore," Mary shouted, her voice growing steady and strong. "Face your truth, Sarah. We won't abandon you." As if reignited by her words, Sarah's shadowed form flickered, caught between two worlds, knotted by her fears and the sparkling memories of laughter. This pain, she whispered, almost haunted. It weighs heavy. I feel paralyzed by it. Let it go. Mary cried, her heart racing. We're here to help you carry it, not to erase it. Each tear, each hurt, shows how much we loved. And like wildfire, their words ignited the collective warmth hidden beneath layers of darkness. Your love doesn't vanish. It transforms. Elijah roared, his voice amplifying the bond between them. I don't want to let you down again, Sarah wept, the shadows whipping around her in anger, howling with rage but now trembling under the town's united front. Her once familiar face grew softer as Mary forged ahead, her gaze steady and unwavering. You can't let the fear keep you, Sarah. You are our light shining in these darkest moments. It's time to remember the joy and laughter, the moments we cherished. The shadows that had been Sarah's prison fluttered, hesitating as love filled the space. With every shout of support, the dark figures twisted like smoke caught in the wind, tension sharp yet dulcet. I didn't realize I could fight too. Sarah's voice cracked, the light sparking behind her once shrouded form. It feels so heavy. It is heavy, but we'll bear it together. Mary cried again, her heart pouring out all the love they once shared. You are not alone. You never were. In that heartbeat, the darkness trembled, wavering under a torrent of aching memories colliding with fervent love. With a collective breath, the townsfolk stood firm, locked in place like ancient trees, their roots entwined, steadfast against the whirlwind. Sarah flinched, her familiar shape emerging from the shadows. I need to face this, the pain without the fear. I am afraid, but you're right. I can't let the darkness win. You won. You have us. The chorus rang out, every voice supporting her fragile resolve. The shadows writhed in fury now, their hold dissipating like mist in the dawn. You can't overcome the darkness. The chilling voice yelled, but it was overshadowed by the warm light growing stronger. Then I'll fight alongside you. Sarah shouted back, her spirit ignited like a sparkling fire in the darkness. We were always meant to face this together. With renewed vigor, the light burst forth, and the town rallied around Sarah, lifting her up as shadow after shadow dissolved in the warmth emanating from their hearts. The bond of love formed an insurmountable barrier against despair. We reclaim our truths. Mary hollered fiercely, each declaration pushing away the shadows, disempowering them. Together, we break free. The darkness shrieked in protest, twisting into an extinguished scream as it lashed wildly, fighting against the encroaching light. Then, a blinding wave surged from within their circle, erupting outward as light poured forth in vibrant pulses that engulfed the shadows. Screams of anguish echoed, but the love that poured forth from each heart illuminated the darkness, tearing its hold apart. Find your light. Elijah and the townsfolk cried, every voice mingling until it formed an anthem of hope. In that moment, the shadows faltered, breaking apart like shattered glass, dissociating from Sarah and the townsfolk entirely. Finally, the air cleared, silence falling like dew upon the earth. They were still standing, united, a tapestry woven from shared truths, vulnerability, and fierce love. Yes. Mary exhaled, tears streaming down her face, as they embraced Sarah, who stood there, trembling yet radiant, finally free from shadows that had once haunted her. The angel shimmered in the background, wings glistening, casting an ethereal light on their entwined hands. You have faced your fears and emerged stronger. You have shown that love, no matter how battered, can bridge the deepest of shadows. As dawn broke, light spilled across the land, warming their faces, and a new day emerged, sparkling and vibrant. The path ahead felt hopeful as Mary, Elijah, Sarah, and all the townspeople stood together, hearts intertwined, ready to face whatever challenges came next. I believe in us, Mary whispered, looking at her friends, their eyes shining. Together, they echoed back, their voices woven as one. As they walked toward a brighter horizon, each step felt lighter, buoyed by love far stronger than darkness. So, wherever you are in your journey, remember this: never let the shadows dim your light. Keep standing together, facing your truths and fighting for what matters. Now, if you felt the power of this story and want more incredible tales, you need to subscribe immediately. Don't wait even one more second. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let us know you enjoyed it. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic ending. And I challenge you to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is what keeps this community thriving. Let's carry this light together.